and we'll start that. Okay, so welcome all. This is our 45th PC Open discussion. There are some pending questions from the last session that we had, so I'll try to answer those today. Then there was a question that me and Vijay Gupta, who might join later, were discussing about the emailing feature. So I'll talk about it. I haven't figured out a solution for it, but that's a good thing to kind of know so that everybody can find creative ways to solve it. Or maybe if I fix it later, I'll surely share it in upcoming meetings. Then on a forum somewhere, I read about a question around field monitoring, and it's related as a retention policy, super important when you work with field monitoring. So I thought we'll just go through these topics and see what's there. So let's go through the normals, which is where do you register? If you're not a default attendee, you go every week on this page and register yourself for next week. If you are a default attendee, then you get the invite automatically. If you are not a default attendee and want to be a default attendee, then drop your name and email in the chat. And Sam, you have a question?
Am I a default attendee now?
Okay, yeah, you are.
Because I just sent you my email, yeah.
Right, okay.
Good, terrific, thank you.
Okay, so what's happening in the community? Let's talk about it. And this may be specific to India, but there's one more thing that's happening in India called, and you can follow them with #plan tomorrow with Dynamics. The thing is that they do weekly sessions, and there's just some developers and consultants talking about Business Central. And as Business Central is now available in India, so it's a good time. The cool thing is it's in Hindi. So it's not for, let's say, Sam, and I see Steve here. So you guys may not understand it, but people who know Hindi, want to be a part of it, I would recommend go there. That's not a problem, I guess. It happens on Sundays. Gulshan schedules those. You can find this hashtag on LinkedIn. And then the rest of the team member, which I was able to find out, are these guys who are helping with Gulshan right now to organize this. And if you want to register for it, then you'll have to send this email. And I guess they by default make you default attendee in the first time. Give it a try if you're interested to hear about Business Central or talk about Business Central in Hindi. This week, which is tomorrow, they'll be talking about intercompany in D365 Business Central, which will be done by Dhaval Bhatt, who is a senior consultant in IBM. So let's see, I'll be there. I'm super excited that as a community, there are more events where people can contribute and learn about the product. So I just found it, thought it's interesting. So if anybody here is interested, go ahead and send an email to this email ID, and I'm pretty sure Bulchan will reply on that. And Sam, you have a question?
Again, yeah, I'm sorry. So there's no English session at all?
This one is specifically Hindi, I guess. I'll attend tomorrow, and maybe I can give you an update next week on it, right?
That would be great. Yeah, that would be
and
great.
Brijen, you have a question?
Yes, Saurav. I can't see the email address. Huh?
Okay, it's navd365, and let me type. I'll put it into chat, but let me copy it in chat right now. It's navd365 BC Meetup Hindi. But what I'll do is I'll put this in chat.
Okay.
Okay, and you can.
So we have to just send an email to these guys, huh? This email address. Okay.
Yes. Once you send that, they'll reply to you, and you can be there.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. And Sam, if any of these topics anybody else is interested, we can surely talk about it here also. That's not a problem.
Okay, good.
Okay, so moving ahead, there's There was a question from Balaji where he tried to ask me this again, and Balaji is here. Balaji, I did try checking the existence or the reasoning behind adding that package number into inventory setup table. Surprisingly, at this point with Business Central 18.1, there is no references to that field. And I'm pretty sure Microsoft knows it, and they'll try to fix it as they go forward with maybe CU2 or CU3. But as of this moment, this field is not used anywhere, which is package number, where you can select number series on inventory setup.
Okay.
Which seems a little bit off, but I'm pretty sure they'll be working on it, and they'll let us know how they want, because I think the right place to put it is not on inventory setup, maybe on the item card, like we have serial numbers and lot number. I'm thinking that's the right place where Microsoft should put it, but let's have a look. And Sam, any questions?
No, I just forgot to.
I'll just, okay. So now, Balaji, you said about the focus mode also, and I thought I forgot to do it, but let's do it quickly. So the question, guys, was that when Balaji was trying to run a page using run model, the focus mode gets disabled. So I didn't give it a try, but let's quickly do that before we move ahead. And I thought about it. So let's try to open the first sales order from the customer card. And let me know if I have to zoom it. Okay, and let me zoom it.
Just zoom it. Yeah,
Okay.
need to zoom.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll change this to, let's say, 5, and let's do it on customer list. Only matters. And then in this, let's add a action area, and in that, let's add first on one of the existing group, let's say customer, and let's add an action test. Okay, let's put an image so that we can find it out. Let's say 8-ball, and then set it to prompted to true, and what else? That's it. Yeah. Okay, and here what I'm trying to do is I'll create a variable of my sales header so that I can pick record sales header, and then sales order of page sales order. Okay, now just to demo this, let's do this. Sell to customer number is number, and sales header dot type. I'm just trying to find out the first sales order so that we can then try to run model it. Document type. Okay, order. And if sales header dot find first. Okay. In that case, I'll do a sales order dot set record to be the sales header record, and then I'll do a sales order dot run model. Is it something, Balaji, that you and your team was trying? Kind of.
Yeah, similar thing. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's just quickly publish this, and then we'll pop up my Business Central client here. Okay. And I'm on the customer card. Okay, so let me find where that button went. Okay. action under which we placed it. Let me quickly see that. Under customer. Okay, customer test. All right. So when I click on this, it found a sales order and it opened it, and I see, Balaji, that there is a focus mode on my sales lines.
Okay.
Right? I can see it. You might have to check what page type you are running into it. Like the example that you gave last time was not a list page, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe the page type is not correct, and that's why it doesn't show you the focus mode. But with run model,
Okay.
it works with the focus mode. That's not a problem.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. We'll check it.
Okay, sounds good. And let's stop it. Okay. And then I got a chance to talk to Vijay, and Vijay is here now. And this was a very old kind of nav related problem, or in Business Central, if you understand it, from the SMTP setup related issue, where you cannot change the sender name while you're sending the email. And during that discussion, I said, okay, it seems possible because when I'm using the new email module, I can actually switch the sender name from the front end, right? So when I'm here, let's say if I have an email account set up, let me set that up otherwise. Email, oh, there's no, not send email. Okay. Set up email, I might not have one. And let me use my Gmail account. And the Gmail account SMTP is this. Integration is basic. Now it's also support OAuth, which was not available earlier, so which is a cool thing. And then for the password, and if you are using multi-factor authentication, then you have to go and get an app password for yourself. The port number is not 25, it's 587. Okay. Let me send a test email to see is it going or not. Okay, that's gone. Okay, so let's finish this. So now I have an email account set, and now if I go to my email accounts, I'll see that one. And let me add one just to kind of explain you what I mean by that. Is I'll do this and I'll say apply Office 365 second settings, and this is my fake account. And this is fake@gmail.com, which is not an account, but
I
okay.
tried that, Saurabh. There is an option to change the form address. Yeah.
In the front end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did try something else. So I wanted to get your perspective also on that. So let me do this, that I'll select the fake account and I'll assign it some scenarios. And those who don't know it, I guess we talked about it in the past. But I'll just add a scenario of, let's say, sales order. So any email that will be when user tries to send an email from the sales order page, it'll pick the fake@gmail.com by default. And that's how the scenarios work. So when you go to the sales orders, and if you try to send an email confirmation, execute the logic and will give you an email window, which will by default select the account as the fake@gmail, because that is defined on the scenario. But on the front end, I as a user can come here and say, oh, I actually want to send it from Saurabh Dhyani, and I can switch it from the front end. Now, I might have got confused when Vijay asked this, but my idea was that Vijay was asking that on a similar situation, instead of picking the sender email from the scenarios, let's assume a scenario that he want to pick it from salesperson code, whatever the email ID is on the salesperson code or card. So can I change that from the code? So I spent very good amount of time onto it, and I don't know the solution, but we'll figure it out, I guess, eventually. So the only area where I thought that I can change it as this point, where system checks for the qualify from address. And this is the base Microsoft code, where it says that if the new feature is enabled, which we just saw, in that case, get the email account with the scenario that is selected, which in our case was sales order, and then it passes a empty temp email module account, which is completely blank at this point. And I thought, okay, that makes sense, because at this point, I don't need this temp email module account because I have my, where is that? Email body into it, and I can utilize it. But eventually, this is the email module account that gets selected at this point from the scenarios. And then this account is used while sending email. So even if I change the from address on my temp email table, which is the table which is used to send all the email, even then the system will pick the sender account based on this temp email module account, which is getting set at this point from the email scenarios. And I'm not very clear yet, but at this point, when this happens on this email scenarios code unit, it actually is using an interface. Luckily or unluckily, I haven't touched that part yet. So let me tell you what I'm trying to say on this. Maybe I can open the source code with my VS Code. And this makes sense that, you know, there should be a possibility where I can change it. But when I come into this area of my, not monitor field, but there is something called as email. And this is the base app. So the base app has email scenario mapping code unit, and then there is one. Oh, that is not in the base app, that is in the system app. This took me some time to understand where that is. System application, email, yes. So the code that is being called, and let me go back there on that screen, is email scenarios.get email account is this email scenarios. This is an implementation, but this one, yeah. And this is the get email account. Now this actually calls the email scenario implementation code unit, which is this one, to get the value of email account, which is an implementation code unit of an interface. So this, at this point, it's decided which email ID will be written based on, is there a scenario attached, oh sorry, is there an email ID attached to a scenario? If yes, then that email ID is written. Otherwise, the default email ID is written, whatever you set as default in your email accounts. Now, I don't know much about interfaces right now, but this will make me think about it, because this is very common requirement to change the behavior of the default emails module, the way the you know, the requirement is. Anybody else have played with the interfaces in past? No one? Okay, but that seems relevant at this point, that if you haven't, that's some. Go ahead.
Saurav, I tried for the learning purpose, just when they launched.
Right.
And also tried with the new pricing mechanism as well. But
Oh yeah. Right. Pricing also have it. You were saying something, Sandeep? Sorry. Sorry. Vikas, you're saying something?
no, actually I was just saying, means I just tried where in interface we just mainly we define the signatures, and from these signatures we just we can call in coordinates or functions. So it's just like uh, function signatures are so.
Right. But if I call a function as an if I and this is maybe my question, but let's assume this is an not assume this is an interface, right? Where there is a possibility of sending an email or getting an account. Now there is a default implementation of this interface defined by Microsoft, right?
Yes.
If I define my implementation of this function, where I can switch, that system should use mine, not Microsoft. I guess that's majorly my question at this point.
See,
Where that hook is.
in any code node, you need to write
Right.
implements this interface email connector. Then these functions will be visible, and in that function you can write your function definition or whatever you want to execute in that function.
But then how does, and anybody else can correct me if I'm wrong, how does system identifies that which implementation it should use? So like get accounts will have an implementation from Microsoft for sure, right? And then I also have my get accounts implemented. So what I know roughly is based on an enum, it chooses which implementation need to be picked. Is that true? Or does it make sense what I'm saying? So like there is one reference of this send, right? It is used somewhere. And where it is used is here, email connector dot send. Right now, this email connector is surely will have an implementation of this interface somewhere, which I cannot see right now, but there will be somewhere written what the send does. But that send is written by Microsoft. If I if I create one more my implementation of this interface and say this is my send, then where I tell the system that don't use Microsoft procedure or implementation, use my implementation of that interface. Does that make sense? Because
Yes, I got your point, but in this interface there is no
code.
like no that's what means nobody is mentioned here.
Right.
So while you will implement this interface, you will mention your own body,
right,
and that will be executed.
But there can be two code units which are implementing this interface, right?
Yes.
So my question is, and maybe I'll have to do a little bit more research into it, but how system identifies that which implementation should I pick? And Farzan, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Is my mic muted?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. I guess because Saurav is trying to ask, like in the report selection, we have that option to override the Microsoft functionality, and we have that what can we say option to override, like don't use the Microsoft report layout, but instead use my layout. So, is there a way to tell the application that to use the custom made send function and to override this one?
Right, more or less.
So,
Okay, and that's not a problem if we don't know it. Vijay, I guess you get an idea where I'm coming from. So this is where I was kind of went into this loop to understand if I define my own implementation of that interface, which is getting this email account, then and only then I'll be able to switch the temp email module account, which will be used to send that email or to show it on the front end.
Exactly. I myself don't have much experience with the Business Central. I'm a freshie in this field. But
Okay,
perhaps we
not a problem.
can have this question raised at the like previously we had that. What? Sorry, I just forgot the name of that
SMTP?
event. Uh, like maybe we can have a conversation with Robert, Stephanie, and or maybe Stefano, the like usually the MVPs of this software. So maybe they might have that idea.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll spend some time into it.
Uh-huh.
Interfaces, because I didn't actually looked at it, but now it's being used in different places in Business Central. Like Vikas said, in sales prices, and now we just saw it into the email module also. So yeah, maybe I'll spend some time, and if I find something out, we'll surely discuss it in one of the future calls that we have.
Great. That'll
Okay.
be great.
Okay, so let's move ahead and talk about one of the question that I found somewhere in the community, which is around field monitoring. Now, for all these years in Dynamics Nav and the initial versions of Business Central, we were limited to kind of see what kind of field changes are happening only via changelog entries. The way it used to work is we'll enable changelog entries, we'll set up the changelog entries on some fields, and then I'm pretty sure everybody who have been in this domain would have seen some customers who sometime enables changelog on the whole table, which is never preferred. On the similar line, to add a extra layer of security on some of the sensitive field in your database, you can now set up field monitoring. The way field monitoring majorly works is it gives you an instant notification whenever somebody changes the value on that field. So it is implemented on top of changelog entries, but you should not be using it like changelog entries. So let's quickly let me walk you through about the field monitoring that's available in Business Central, and then we can talk about it going forward. So the first thing that you have to do if you are using field monitoring is on the user's card that you have, you should have the email IDs of all the users who you might use in field monitoring. So like I have this, and let me also open my inbox to see is there any activity there on this or not. Okay, so this is my email account, which is at this point empty. Last email was, I guess, Faizan just accepted that, so that's all. So you set up your contact email on your user card. That's the first thing that you do. The next thing you need to make sure is you have your changelog setup enabled. So if you don't have it, go ahead and set up your changelog. Once you do that, you will have to restart the session, which is required to activate the changelog. Okay. Now at this point, our changelog is set up, enabled, and now we want to set up our field monitoring. There are two ways. The one way is use the assisted setup guide, which is available with the product from Microsoft, or you can set this up manually. But let's see what's available in the assisted setup. Once you go into assisted setup, at the end, I guess at this point, there is setup extended security section, which shows you monitor field change setup. When you click on it, it gives you a wizard, as most of the assisted setup are. And then it gives you this window where you can select what kind of data you are trying to pull or fields you want to pull in the field monitoring. One is sensitive data, and you can see the definition of these kind of fields. It have some sensitive info. Is it a personal info on that, or is it company confidential? And these are different field types which are defined by Microsoft. So if you want to have a look, just click on this and you'll see how Microsoft have defined different fields on different table and what their data sensitivity is. So it's defined in the application just based on what Microsoft thinks which fields are personal identification or customer content and things like that. So this gives you that option that you can choose automatically load those kind of fields if you want. So let's say I choose personal fields. Click next. Then it's the notification recipient, the person who will get notified when something changes. At this point I say, oh, I have just one user. I'll choose this. And then the email account, which we just set up a while ago. So if you have multiple email account, it'll give you a pop-up to choose the accounts. Like we just created this fake and my Gmail account. So you can choose that. Then you move to next, and then you say view monitor fields. Once you click finish, there's a worksheet that will open, which will tell you based on your selection what it was able to pull into the worksheet, which is this. Now at this point, what you're seeing on your screen is what will be recorded in the change log. It's kind of change log at this point. But if you think that my salesperson email is being changed pretty frequently and that should not be changed by people, and they are always putting it in some invalid data, so you can enable the notify feature here. At this point, these fields get into the monitoring fields. Anytime somebody changes an email on your salesperson card, and this might not be the good example, but let's say on company information, if there is a sensitive info that should not be changed by anybody, you can monitor it using the monitor field. So for the demo, I'm just choosing email and phone for my salesperson. Should not be changed, and if changed, I should be notified. So that's what is this Boolean, and you can set it based on set for notification. If you don't want some fields, you can select multiple rows and clear for notification. We have already set up the field monitoring setup, which is two simple questions: notification recipient and notification email account. As soon as I activated this, I would have got an email saying that you are signed up to receive email notification when certain data is changed in the BC Open Discussion company in Business Center. This message is to inform you that following changes were made, which is somebody started the notification service. So the setup kind of works. Anytime somebody changes, I should get a notification now. So let's go back and try to change the email or phone on my person card. Okay. So if I change the email ID here and do it as this and close this, it should start that engine behind the scene, and I should eventually get an email here that somebody have changed it. And you can also check it by doing the retention, oh sorry, not retention, monitoring log entries, which is, it says yes, it has been set up. but so monitor field. Okay, so let's see. I haven't got one, and that's odd. But let's open the monitoring setup again. And this, when I was testing this, I found this issue, and I thought maybe I was doing some mistake, but maybe it's not get set up correctly. So when I check the email here in this field, I have the email account ID here. Everything is set up, so I should be getting an email now. Everything is in place. So let me, oh, that might have been recorded as a new record because I just added that info. Salesperson. Let me change this again. Okay, while we are waiting on it, let me see, let me walk you through about this in the code, which is, where is my field monitoring or monitoring? It might be on base app. So let me switch there. Base app. And let's see on monitor sensor field. So this is what that all extension, all the code that is related to field monitoring is kind of stored in this section, which is not big, which is one enum. The page of our field monitoring setup is based on a source table called field monitoring, which is this table which just holds and the receiver info. The log entry page is eventually is based on change log entries. So it not have a separate table to store the log of whatever has been changed on that field that you have set, but it uses change log entries. And that's why the change log entries is important. And then they have this code unit, which sends the email notification when something changes on your sensitive fields. And then this have all these functions to send these emails and all. This is the kind of the static email body that comes from that. The worksheet where the assisted setup loaded all the data, that's this page, which is again based on changelog setup fields table. So not a new table. And then this enum kind of controls the behavior of monitor field notification. The setup wizard, which we walked through. And then this is the code unit to monitor that fields and all. So not a big feature, but it's part of that base app. And there was a question that a customer wanted to use it, and I did try it. This should work. And why I haven't received the email? I should have now. Okay. Let me try checking the changelog entries. And there is no changelog right now. Let's see the monitor field log entries. It doesn't show me the table 13. Okay. Let me see. I enabled here, and those are set for notification already. Field change entries. Nothing here. Okay, let me stop it once. Let me pick the account again and start it again. It's sending me an email when it is getting signed up. So the email don't have a problem. The email account is working. And now I got another email. Oh, it was just started. So now if I go back to my sales people and try to change this again. Let's check this. Let's see what happens now. Because it works with the change log, do I need to log off once? I did log off, right?
The monitoring log is still showing sending, status as sending. There is no fail.
Monitoring log?
Yeah. Showing the status as sending, I think.
Oh, sending email. Oh, that's a good one. Sending email failed.
Failed? Okay, failed.
That's weird. Okay, but yeah, I guess there might be something missing on that. You might have to check the setup and all. But the idea here is that it will send you a notification whenever the fields that you have set for monitoring, the value of those fields get changed, you will get an email notification. And as go ahead.
You need to, that email notification job queue is running. I think that should also be get running now. Job queue dispatcher.
I don't think so, because it's not running from the job queue as I read the code. Okay. Yeah, somebody was saying something?
Yes, sir. Just asking if this particular field monitoring works for only the modification purpose, or if any new record insertion or the record deletion is there, will it send mail for that also?
So the way it works is when you go to your change log entries, there is a change log code unit, right? I forgot that name. Let me just check it from here. Handle, where is that notification? Yes. So when you come here and see from where this is being called, because this is what is sending the email, you see that it's being called from the change log when the change log gets inserted in the database. So this is here. Oh, I might have chosen the wrong function, which is send email is monitored field set, and this is space app, right? Okay. Yeah, and Vijay, I guess it's not using that email thing because it's directly sending it from here based on this email.enqueue and then change log entry. Okay, so let me go here, go to definition. Okay. So that's why I said the change log entry setup is important, because when you try to insert records into change log entry, that's where it gets triggered. So which is, where is the insert? Okay, not this one. There's a code unit related to this, right? Forgot that. Yes, change log management. So when the record is inserted from the change log management, it actually checks that is it the monitor sensitive fields, and if it is monitored, then it sends an email automatically. Yes, at this point. So when the change log is created, at this point, it says monitor sensitive field data, handle monitor sensitive field. And this then triggers or moves the cursors to the monitor sensitive field code unit, which then sends an email. And Sandeep, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, do we have to activate the change log setup also for that particular table?
Change log should be enabled automatically on this, but let's see that. Okay, more options, actions, setup, tables, and I'm pretty sure it should be set for 13. Okay, and let me be on this field. What is the salesperson purchaser code? Okay. Anybody remembers the ID of salesperson purchaser code?
13. Oh, no.
It doesn't seem like that, but let me see. Salesperson users and help and support.
It's 13, I think.
It's 13, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. But why I cannot see 13 yet?
There is some notification at the top, sort of. Some fields are hidden because
they contain fields that are being monitored for change. Okay, so yeah, it's already there. It's already enabled because they are here on this. This is interesting. I did try this and it did work. So this is a good sign, but let me delete others. Or let me also enable it on name. Let's see what happens. Okay. Should not be all, but okay. Now if I go to my salesperson, purchaser, and maybe this is the wrong one, but let me try again. Go back. That should activate my change log automatically, which should try to, and let me check, is there anything on email? Send emails. Oh, I did got an email this time. You are assigned to receive the email notification. Extended security has detected a change in salesperson purchaser field marked for monitoring. The original value was this, the new value is this, and the user who changed it this. And check for effective permission for the user. Sort of allow for this change. Notification are sent automatically and cannot be replied. And let's try changing the other fields. Is it only working on the name field, which is weird? But while this is happening, and let's see if it works or not, as we went through this, and we did receive an email. So yeah, now it's working. Maybe there was a glitch somewhere. So now it says it's changed to this from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. So as we were talking about the field monitoring, eventually with all these changes, the data in the system will also increase. For every change on a monitor field, there will be a log created whenever the value is changed or inserted. That's how easy it is, right? And to keep an eye on the data that's growing, Microsoft have added this feature, which is called as retention policies. It's available in some pages in Business Central, especially in the change log areas and some other areas in the Business Central automatically. But you can also search for it here, and the page is called retention policies. Now, the way retention policy work is it gives you a space where you can define the time frame for which you want to retain data on certain tables. And after that particular period of time, the data from those tables will automatically get deleted. And you can also filter out data from those tables that records that match these scenarios will only get deleted, let's say after a week or after 5 days or after 6 months or after a year. But as we are talking about it, and the first time when I heard it, I was like, okay, that seems pretty bad. But it's not that pretty bad, because Microsoft have put restrictions what tables you can use in retention policies. So from the base app, there are specific tables that you can use, and you can't just go ahead and say, I want to delete records from my customer after a week. But for your pertinent extensions that you're building, you have ways to modify the routine in a way so that you can use it, but only for tables which are part of your extension. You can't change it for Microsoft tables. So in this case, as we understood that it's storing the data in the changelog entry. So okay, by default it chose changelog entry. But if you see, these are the 3 tables which are available from Microsoft to be cleaned up time to time if you want them, time by time, if you want them to delete the data which have reached to a certain date. So let's say for my retention policy log entries, which you are seeing right now, because that data will grow eventually, you can surely set this up. Okay, the page has one more notification. Okay, the view filtered. Okay, let me go back, and yes, okay. Okay, let me open it here, and there's no record, so let me make a change. I cannot. Let me add table. Oh, that's already added. Why it's not showing me that now? 5. Okay, let me go to my (3905). Okay, so this is a table retention policy. At the same time, you can define how long you want to retain those entries. By default, it's 6 months. But if you want, let's say you can say 1 day. I don't want to save these entries, and you can say that they get deleted in custom, which is -1D. And what is that? It says that the date at least 2 days before the current date. Okay, so you can at least go to 3D, minimum to 3D. You set it up that I want to delete all these retention entries after, let's say, 3 days. And then you can also define the expiration date, which is super interesting. What it assumed, it's 6/2. Oh, this particular entry expires on, or it executes on, it's a wrong word, I guess, expiration date. Records created on or before this date will be deleted. Okay, so system is using this field to identify when the record should get deleted. Choose that, and then what happened now? Okay, 3 days. The mandatory minimum retention policy, oh, let's read that, is 28 days. The expiration date must be equal to 5/8. Okay, so that means we can't go less than 28 days. That's cool. I didn't thought about it. It's good to know. Let's say -30D. There was an option by default, I guess, 1 month. I should have checked that. Okay. Then you can enable it. If you want to do it manually, then you can enable that you will run it manually, or if you want to run it automatically, then you don't have to do anything. And then you can also filter out which fields you want to, as in based on which field in the table you want to filter the day logic that you have set, or the retention policy. So now we all know that the system had at least these fields by default in every table, which is when the record was created and when the record was last modified. But if there are other date field, I'm pretty sure system will be able to show you those here. to choose based on which field you want to decide the retention period calculation. So once you set this up, it'll automatically, and there should be a job queue entry created for this. Yes, retention policy job queue, which is already created, so you don't have to worry about it. And let's see what it says. It says it runs every day at 2 a.m. I'll try to delete the entries which fall in that retention period every night if possible. Now, as I said, for the standard table, there is this restriction, but on your per tenant extension, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to decide which tables you want to delete. And if not, then there is a pattern that you can extend it if required. Any questions?
Nope, it was clear.
Okay. Anything else? As in, yeah, we closed 5 minutes ago, but I guess that's all was there for this week. If anyone has any question, I'll be happy to answer if I can. Otherwise, we can call it for the day.
Yeah, Saurabh.
Yeah.
Is there a way we can know when Microsoft releases these updates, the monthly versions, other than going and searching the website every time? Is there any API or some information page?
So there are these feeds that you can consume, right? As in, and they get in your email as anything gets announced around it. So let me figure out. Let me show you how I get it. Let me find a cumulative update that's latestly released. Okay, labels, fixes, cumulative update. So when you go to a cumulative update page, then there should be an RSS feed somewhere. It's normally either at the top or at the bottom. Yes, here it is, right? The idea of RSS feed is to get a email in your box or in your body, in your Outlook, right? Whenever a new update or a modification happens on that particular page. And you'll find this on every website or blog that you visit. There will be a why it is showing, what is this saying? It says to get latest support on a specific, subscribe to RSS feed for only hotfixes currently listed. Okay, let me see where I was so that I know what I want to pick it from. And I can surely find mine and share it with you. That's not a problem. But
The issue came 18.1 got released.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for it for quite a long time.
Okay. I just got released day before yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is Dynamics 365 Business Central. Okay. Now there are different ways to consume these feeds. It's up to you how you want to use it. But as in you can surely use it in Outlook, but you can also consume them in Excel if you want. It's up to you. It's up to how you want to use them. So in Excel, in the data, there should be a section where you can fetch data from feed. There used to be an RSS somewhere. They removed it or what? From databases, from Azure, from Power BI, SharePoint, OData feed. Oh, did I do OData feed? Not that same to RSS feed. Let me try that. But yeah, this also sends you an email for sure. That's not a problem. Yeah, it also sends you the similar kind of feeds. I guess you cannot consume them in Excel, but yeah, it does work in Outlook. Let me try to find my Outlook. I can open that. Okay, and I can't open this, but let me directly go to my RSS subscription. Okay. Okay, here it is. So like I get all these feeds from different sources, right? Like forums and Microsoft Teams or any forums that we have for business center, most of the common forums, right? So you can eventually get feed from any place that you like to read from, and as they happen, you get notified on your inbox that there is a new article written or there is a new hotfix released. Just subscribe those RSS feed for Business Central on your Outlook, and the way it works, I guess, is you can just do here and do a RSS feed. So let me try to do it here. So the way is go to your account settings in Outlook, and then you can add a new RSS feed if you need. So in your Outlook, if you go to your account setting, you can just do a new, paste in your feed here. If that's the right feed, it'll try to pick that up. This is Microsoft support for Business Central. And you click OK and start reading that feed to you on your inbox. So as soon as
the version.
Sorry?
Well, it's just for the web version. How do you set the RSS feed within the browser version of Outlook?
That's a good question. I never tried this, but that's a good
Because
one. I'll surely figure it.
I know, I can't find it. I tried to look at the panel. You can't
Okay.
find RSS.
Okay, that's a good thing to check. I'll surely check that. But yeah, in the Outlook Windows client, you can surely fetch all the RSS feeds which are there. If you find the right, if you find the right RSS feed, and that just fills up in your inbox. And like I haven't checked it for a while. That's why these many numbers are there. But eventually, when you start reading them, then they start reducing. So
You
yeah,
do
so
have the option
maybe
in the Outlook online also, no? You must be having that option, RSS feed.
yeah, somewhere there will be. I'll have to figure that out where that is, because I normally work on my Windows 1, but I'm pretty sure somewhere in the Outlook.
It's available on the web version. I just found it. It's
Okay,
underneath
great.
notes.
Okay,
it's underneath.
great. Yeah, so Sandeep, if you need, I'll check the exact one. I'll check my feed and find out which one is the exact one, and you can just subscribe to that and you'll get all those.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
That's definitely a good start. We'll look into it. Yeah.
Anything else? Anybody? Okay, I'll try to do some learnings on interface this week if I get some time. Because that seems important. Hey, Bharat.
Yeah, I have like for the next invitation, we will get the link automatically, or we need to register again.
If you want to get links automatically, then just drop your name and email, and I'll make sure you get it automatically. You don't have to register them.
Can I mail through this?
Yeah, just drop it in the chat. I'll look through the chat after the call. So I'll take care.
Sure. I'm contacted with your LinkedIn, so that's okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Fine.
Well, again, Surah, thank you. It was truly informative. Again.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandeep.
Yeah, thank you, Saurabh.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.